Hello and happy late winter day. Sitting here at the end of February, and I was reading through my Castelvetro book all about Italian herb or vegetables, and I came across this lovely little passage within his spring section and nestled amongst all of his recipes for different types of salads. And he mentions Alexander specifically. Um, which got me intrigued because I happen to be growing Alexanders. So what is Alexanders? Alexanders is a really old-timey herb. It was around in Roman times, hence the name Alexander, very Roman. And then the Romans brought it throughout Europe and distributed as they moved and conquered with them. So Alexander is in the umbel family, which is also the carrot family, and it looks a lot like many of its cousins, like the carrots, parsley root, parsnips, and my dear love of skirret. So it has a nice central top root, and it has these leaves that have kind of a very celery or parsnip looking structure to it. So kind of opposite pinnate divisions of the leaves. So, and then the root itself, this is a little bit older, this is a slightly younger one, little baby Alexander. Yeah. And then when you peel the root, it looks something like this, and hopefully we can get, there we go, an image of that kind of central area. Thankfully, unlike carrots and parsnips, when you see a central core like that, it means you got some really woody xylem vessels going on in there. Alexander's doesn't seem to have that. This is still really nice and tender. Maybe it's the time of year that I pulled this out of the ground, which is February, so it has yet to develop its flowering stem, which can sometimes lignify or harden that central core area. But right now it's still really nice and soft. So Castelvetro, his book was published in 1614, which kind of officially puts it out of the pre-1600s time periods for vegetables, but with him, this is a book of reflection of what vegetables in Italy he used to adore to eat and his memories thereof. And he left Italy in 1560 as a Protestant refugee, and the Countess of Bedford took him in and sponsored him in England. So his Alexander section here says, cooked or raw, these shoots make a nice salad on their own. In spring, the roots are good too. We eat them cooked, on their own, or with other vegetables. This is the first mention I've ever heard of eating the Alexander root. In other recipe books of pre-1600s, they'll mention it, but they're probably talking more about the leaf, which can be used as kind of like a celery substitute, or very similar to Lavage. Lavage is a very close cousin to this. So if you're like me and you're not a fan of Lavage, you probably will not be a fan of Alexander's. But let's give it a whirl. Alexander's is really easy to grow. The only tricky part about it is because it is such an old crop, the seed has this really thick coat. And so what happens is that you have to dissolve that coat, and that takes time and cold temperatures traditionally. And so you can plant them, seed them in the fall, and then over the course of the winter it dissolves, and then the spring it comes back. In mild climates, it's perennial, or at least a really strong biennial or multi-annual one, right? So it might last 3 to 4 years, and then it finally will say it'll give up the ghost. It produces a beautiful flower, much like any of the other umbel families, so fennel, carrots, parsley, those kinds of things. So it's beautiful umbel or upside down shaped umbrella flower, and the pollinators just adore it. It does readily self-seed, so make sure if you grow it to plant it in an area where you can weed it out, or you harvest those seeds before they have a chance to scatter, because it will take over and you will be grumpy as it invades all of your garden beds, and your neighbors will be grumpy. And if you live anywhere close to a nature preserve, yeah, the world will be grumpy. So with further ado, because it's nestled within the salad recipes, I did several different techniques on preparation. So the first one I did was just kind of a simple salat recipe, and so I did both the leaves and the roots sliced up. I dressed it with oil and then vinegar and salt, and let it sit for a little bit. So we'll see what that happens. But first, let's try out the raw version thereof. So this is the raw root once it is all peeled. It's nice and white and bright. You can still see a few little chunks. So raw Alexander root in the spring. It's nice and crunchy. And there's certainly, whoa. Okay, what was a pleasant celery flavor is being, whoa, powerfully overtaken by, excuse me, by bitterness. I found that extremely unpalatable. Very unpleasant. I don't recommend that at all. All right, so moving on, perhaps some preparation. So this is, again, a salad or salat recipe, so just the leaves and the root. So a little bit of the root itself. The olive oil is a really nice, gentle flavor. The salt is lovely. The vinegar helps. And it's taking a lot longer. There's still a little bit of bitterness that's coming into play, but all in all, yeah. If I was without many other options, and then with the leaf, nice, bright. I wouldn't want to sit down to a whole salad of this, but this in one of those gargantuan jumbles of salads that were so popular in the pre-1600s with, you know, the 30 list of 30 ingredients. This would be a really nice bittering agent, and the crunch is really fun. Okay, I'm surprised. This is really cool. So another treatment I did was to take it to some of the other similar treatments of the umbel family pre-1600s, which the best one, the one that I know most of is skirret. And so with skirret, you take the root of the umbel and you boil it, and then you dredged it in flour and you fry it. So with that, I boiled an Alexander, and it looks pretty much the same, and it kind of has the same tendency. So straight up boiled Alexanders. Let's see what this tastes like. Ooh, there's not a woody core at all. That's really cool. Good texture to the flesh. It's nice and firm, but yet still yielding. And a little bit of that after bite that you can get with like Lavage. So not great. I prefer the salad over this, but this I could actually eat if I was hungry. So, and then I just dredged it in flour and then fried it in some olive oil. And the flour held pretty good to the skin. It was, and these are peeled. And it did not hold nearly as well as it does with skirret, but it held much better than what you see like when you try to flour peeled boiled parsnips. So, and it looks really pretty. Because of that central area, you get this really cool ring pattern on it. It's really pretty. So, fried skirret a la, fried Alexander a la skirret. Has a nice bite. Holds up well. Very French fry-y. Yay, fried carbs. And like hardly any of that weird bitterness that you get. Ooh, this sprinkled with a little bit of verjuice would be rockin'. So, all right, I think I've changed my mind. I think I like Alexanders now. Yeah, this is totally doable. Rock on. That is really cool. All right, that's really exciting. So one other tidbit about Alexanders that I'd love to share with you is that right above the entry in Castelvetro where he talks about Alexanders, he has a recipe, excuse my pronunciation, for olla podrida, which is a salad with the outlandish name of olla podrida, because as well as the profusion of salad ingredients, as he has just described, we go on to add things. So this is one of those monstrosities of salads that include like 30 ingredients. But at the very, very end, in the last sentence, where he's talking about adding small pieces of candied onion and lemon peel, spring onions, if they are in season, which is really fun that he talks about the seasonality of things, radishes, horseradish, and this is what's really cool, and I fairly well trust this translation. I think it's fairly reliable. He says, and the white shoots of Alexander's. So this is really cool that he specifically mentions the white shoots. And as you can see, the shoots of Alexander's are green. So my guess is he is talking about blanching, or where you cover all of this, much like you would do with endive or some of our other more bitter herbs, especially that come out of Italy, is you close them up and you let them grow. And then what happens is that they grow white because they're not exposed to sunshine, so they have no need to produce chlorophyll. And as they're not producing chlorophyll, they also don't produce some of those more bitter secondary compounds that we'll find. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to blanch some of my Alexanders that are still in the ground and see maybe if that will change the flavor. Yeah. So Alexanders, if you have the space and the time, I encourage you to try seeding some in the fall. But beware, right? It is invasive, so be careful. So I hope all is well. I hope you are safe, and I hope you get some dirt under your fingernails. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.